April Fools, Apple, and Okinawa are all on this day. Welcome back to On This Date. Today's date is April 1st, 2021. It is the 91st day of the year. There are 274 days left in this year. It's also the 13th Tuesday. It is the 13th day of spring, and we got 81 days left until summer. It's another hot one here today. I shouldn't say hot. It's been like 70 degrees, but if you're in Arizona, that's chilly. Here in Portland, Oregon, it's kind of warm. Today is Major League Baseball's opening day. Catch a game of America's pastime. They're not paying me to say that. I just think it's one of those things that, as a nation, even if you don't like baseball, it's good to watch a game occasionally. Today is April Fool's Day. April Fool's Day is a day of practical jokes and hoaxes. It's been observed for centuries, although its origins still remain unclear. It's been suggested that in ancient Roman and Hindu cultures, the day originally marked New Year's Day. In 1582, Pope Gregory XIII, issued the Georgian calendar, which moved New Year's Day from April 1st to January 1st. It is believed that those who continued to celebrate New Year's Day on April 1st were referred to as fools, leading to the concept of April Fool's Day. Kind of weird, never heard that story. All right, let's see what else April 1st has given us. 1918, the Royal Air Force is created by the merger of the Royal Flying Corps and the Royal Naval Air Service. That's in Great Britain, obviously, or England, or Britain, whatever it was called back then. 1933, the recently elected Nazis under Julius Streicher organized a one-day boycott of all Jewish-owned businesses in Germany, ushering in a series of anti-Semitic acts. Yeah, this guy was a piece of work. He made it to the Nuremberg trials. 1945, during World War II, the 10th United States Army attacks the 32nd Japanese Army on Okinawa. This battle lasted almost 100 days, 98 to be exact, from March 26 until July 2nd, 1945. Almost a week into the battle, the 10th Army attacked the Japanese 32nd Army. The United States created the 10th Army for island hopping operations in the Pacific during World War II. It was kind of weird because it was a cross-branch force consisting of the U.S. Army's 7th Infantry Division, which I was in the 80s and 90s, the 27th Infantry, the 77th, and the 96th Infantry Divisions. It was joined with the United States Marine Corps' 1st, 2nd, and 6th Marine Divisions. The 10th was also kind of different because it had its own tactical air force, and it was also supported by a combined naval and amphibious force. So this thing was very different than things the United States had done before. It was pretty much designed to use divisions and units that were best at what they did, that fit the plan and what they had to do. It was very unique. Instead of having the unit adapt to what they were doing, they made the unit for this. It's always been kind of weird to me. This was a serious battle. It's often been referred to as the Typhoon of Steel or Rain of Steel because of the ferocity of the fighting and the intensity of the Japanese kamikaze attacks. The battle was one of the bloodiest battles in the Pacific. Approximately 160,000 casualties combined, at least 50,000 Allied casualties, and somewhere around 100 to 117,000 Japanese. Now, this also included Okinawans that were forced into Japanese uniforms and, basically sent out there to be bullet catchers, which was really sad. They figure about 150,000 Okinawans were killed or died by suicide or maybe even went missing. They estimate about half the population was gone because they had about 300,000 before the war and they had about 150,000 left after the battle. The Japanese military mobilized about 1,700 middle school boys aged 14 to 17 for frontline service. Basically, they gave them uniforms and put guns with them. Then they took all the girls from a girls' school and made them basically nurses. No training, you're now a nurse. They figure in total with the boys that were on the front line and the girls that were nurses and stuff, they lost about 2,000 students on the battlefield. I could spend an hour talking about the Battle of Okinawa, but it's something that deserves a lot more time than I have on these videos. So I would encourage you, if you want to read some interesting stuff, read about the Battle of Okinawa. It's very interesting. 1954, the United States President Dwight D. Eisenhower authorizes the creation of the United States Air Force Academy in Colorado. 1976, Apple Incorporated is formed by Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and Ronald Wayne in Cupertino, California. 1978, Death by Disco. In 1978, a Tacoma, Washington man named Jerry Acuna told his friends and actually called a local radio station to tell them that he was going to prove his love for disco music and the disco scene by listening to the soundtrack of Saturday Night Fever for 24 hours a day for 7 days. Apparently he was trying to break some kind of weird record. Okuna only made it 3 hours into his attempt when a blood clot broke loose and killed him. Yeah, it got into his lungs and killed him. They figure it was the high-pitched squealing done by the Bee Gees that released the clot. Sad. 2001, an EP-3E United States Navy surveillance aircraft collides with a J-8 fighter jet. The Navy crew makes an emergency landing in China and they're detained. And on satellite, you can see all kinds of Chinese soldiers running in and out of the airplane, collecting as much information as they can. There was all this drama because they didn't think the US crew had gotten rid of all the data that they'd had stored on the plane. 2001, former president of the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia, Slobodan Milosevic, surrenders to police special forces to be tried on war crimes. He dies 5 years later of a heart attack in his prison cell while I guess all the trial and stuff was still going on. Movies released on April 1st, 2011. Super. This was a pretty good movie. You probably never heard of it. It starred Rainn Wilson, Ellen Page, who's now Elliot Page, Kevin Bacon, Liv Tyler, Nathan Fillion. But basically, a short order cook becomes a superhero called the Crimson Bolt, though he has no superhuman abilities. Yeah, he decides he's a superhero because he wants to rescue his wife from the hands of a drug dealer, and she went willingly. She wasn't kidnapped or anything like that. Yeah, very, very interesting movie. Born on April 1st, 1977, Vitor Belfort, Brazilian-American boxer and mixed martial artist. By far, my favorite UFC fighter of all time. This guy was outstanding. Sure, everyone says he used steroids far too much, but back in the day, pretty much everyone was. Why get mad at him if everyone else is doing it? But they treat him like he's some kind of pariah when everyone was doing it. He just probably did a little bit too much. He's still a good fighter. Phenomenal. Died on April 1st, 1984. I remember when this happened. Marvin Gaye, American singer and songwriter. It was so sad. He was shot and killed by his father. He had gotten in the middle of an argument with him and his mom and dad were arguing. He got in the middle of it, and it turned into a physical altercation, and his father pulled out a gun and shot him straight in the heart. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a productive day, pull a prank on someone, be nice to each other.